Thank you so much, Dr. Thompson. And that's my first time ever referring to Haley as Dr. Thompson. And her first time probably ever referring to me as Dr. Reid. Just to elaborate a little more, I think it was at Haley's birthday party over the summer, and we got to talking a little bit about our work in Feedom. And Haley said something like, "You should come, we have like this series where I work and be a part of that." And I was like, yeah, we do that, yeah, And fast forward, here we are. And what happened as we got to talking about it a bit more with Haley and the team, I said, you know, the way I would want to do this, and I'm so thankful, I'm looking over to my left, what I would want to do is I want us to hear and really listen to Black visionaries in Detroit. I want us to lift up the work that people have been doing for many years. And I'll be happy to moderate that conversation. But I would love to hear from Mama Myrtle, Curtis, Thompson. Am I getting your last name correct? Sorry. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your grace. Evan Jonsin, Coach Kellogg. Do that all the time. Jonsin for Change. Freedom Dreams, Mama Myrtle, Feedom Growers, and Kim Sherobbi, Birwood House. And here we are. And I'm really humbled to be a part of this conversation this evening. And we really are hoping that we can have a discussion, that we can let this conversation be what it most needs to be. And we just trust that we are the people who need to be in this room and on Zoom right now to be engaged here. And I also wanted to shout out my team who came all the way from California. We're doing some work called Freedom Dreams and Philanthropy, trying to fix the philanthropic sector. And just want to invite you to say, just raise your hand for a moment. Efrain Gutierrez. And Chanel Torian. We have adopted Chanel Torian. Yeah. And we're doing some work with Zach Rosen, who is, if you don't know, podcaster and media person extraordinaire Detroiter. So thank you for asking for being here. And I did just want to name too the way that I have the privilege of meeting the visionaries that I'm seated here beside was through the beautiful work that is longstanding here in the city of Detroit through the Boggs Center. And so this is also 2023 is the 60th anniversary of James Boggs' book, The American Revolution. And throughout the year, the Boggs Center has been organizing and hosting events that invite us into reflection, invite us into praxis around what it takes to move continuously toward our collective liberation. And so I was introduced to all of the visionaries here through one of those events back in May. And so I'm truly really humbled and excited to be a part of this. And can't wait for you all to hear from everyone here and to engage in some conversation. And so just wanted to say a word about freedom dreaming, at least the way I understand it. And so we're going to open it up and we're going to talk about the resonance across, for each of us, what it is. And so for me, when I think about freedom dreaming, what is it really about? It's about connecting with what is already inside each and every one of us. It is not something that is like new, that you have to go to school for, that you have to study up on in and of itself. It is about connecting with what is it for Black folks, and there are a lot of adjacencies for people cross-culturally, so it is not exclusive. But for me, it's about connecting with that Black radical tradition. And by radical, what we're talking about is a world that we haven't lived in. Right? We're talking about a world where we have safety, where as a woman and a feminine woman, I could go outside and take a walk in the dark. And I wouldn't have to worry about myself. My kids could go outside and play. Right? It's a world where we wouldn't need a carceral system because we have like really provided people what they need. We have intervened well before. So we wouldn't need a carceral system to really understand this either. It's about that ability to one, to imagine into that, like what would that mean? What would that look like? How would we understand it? How would we mean? And then in the work that we do, we take action when we need to, right? The dream, the freedom dream, that sense in me connects with that in you, and I'm willing to be vulnerable enough or open enough to speak it, to practice it, to learn from it, to bring it back, to go again. It is like active, it is a verb, right? And we know that freedom dreaming comes from a really long tradition of Black folks having to look out into that night sky and imagine your freedom and keep moving toward it, right? In the most difficult of circumstances and many times. So for me, that's sort of very like my understanding of like what are we talking about? What does it mean? Why does it imagine? Why is it important? And part of why it's important is we have to hold out for that greater possibility that allows us in our minds and in our hearts to go beyond what it is today. We need some personal freedom, some ways of releasing from that present day, the stress, the tension of being in the bodies that we're in this country that has a racial hierarchy, that has a class hierarchy, and so on, that says some bodies are welcome, others are not, and so on and so on. And we need to find each other. So I'm very thankful that in the space, and because of freedom dreaming as praxis, it is something that readies us to find each other, to connect with each other, to build community, to be in relationship, and to practice the future that is. And so I'm gonna pause there and invite my fellow panelists to say a little bit about what is freedom dreaming to you, and what is that? How does it show up in your work?
That's why he positioned me here.
Yeah, I think you all. What is freedom dreaming? A man that loves these. In we here in Detroit, who was governing this city, is not caring about dream. Most of the time when we talk about a dream, we're thinking about someone who's asleep. This dream state, we are awake every day, all day. And we begin to create thoughts of being something new, something different. That's the easy part. So here, as a community activist and organizer, I'm dreaming. I do a lot of riding around the area in which I work, that I may be able to see and how we can make a difference, not only for the work that we're doing, but for the community in which we're working in. I didn't know that I was going to be one who do this work. I thought I was going to come home and begin to work with the youth as I did prior. But I found out I can work with the youth, but I can also help create a future that we don't even know yet. So what do the future look like? We have to dream and keep dreaming. Because we can build one thing today, but we need to continue to build and build and build. But also we have to be able to understand that we have to pass the torch. And so we have to begin to dream about who can be the next dreamer. And so that's what freedom dreaming is to me. And I share this because one of my coworkers is here, and a lot of times we just sit up and talk about doing this and doing that and doing this. You know, and so now I'm dreaming again in how can I bring all of the entities in the community together that we can begin to build a better community, a beloved community.
That was great. That was a great opening. Yeah.
You gotta follow up.
I felt like after Chera was talking, I was like, okay. But I remember first, thank you everybody for coming out on a Thursday evening. I'm glad the weather was mild today. My fellow panelists, y'all rock. And to my grandson back there. Thanks, Tim. And to my friend Cleo. I feel a long time ago in the garden. She walked up to me and said, "Do you remember me?" I'm like, "Yes, I thought about you a couple of weeks ago." So anyway, that's freedom dreaming. Planting seeds and not knowing how you gonna, what's gonna come up sometimes. But I was a kid who used to sit on the porch with my friends. And we used to play this game called What If? And I Wish. We would rearrange the world so it was just perfect. And it made more sense than what we were dealing with sometimes day to day. So freedom dreams have always existed. I don't recall hearing the phrase freedom dreams though until I was introduced to the book by Robert D.T. Kelly. But it's talking about freedom dreaming. It's a beautiful dream. And it's full of everything in our existence, everything that Black people have experienced on this continent. It's also those things that we are yet to create. I consider myself a lifelong learner, a very curious person, to a point when my kids call me nosy. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. You know, you have to. I think my curiosity has finally later in life has paid off. Always wanting to know more. It's got me in some sticky situations and has kept me out of some sticky situations. My imagination, my creativity. As the co-founder of the organization Feedom Freedom Growers, which is urban agriculture on the east side of Detroit. And we've been doing that over there since 2009. That is amazing. The commitment. Because it's not just a warm and fuzzy thing to do. Growing food, growing anything, it's not just warm and fuzzy, especially if you're going to eat it. Sometimes things don't grow the way you want to, the weather, the pests, you're tired. the weeds, they don't stop. So with that freedom dream, I've learned some tenacity. And I just wanted to, I made some notes because I will be all over the place. And as a curious person and a student of life, I understand freedom dreaming, and I became an admirer of life and understanding. Learning and understanding the interwoven way of Black radical tradition, that resistance to oppression that leads to self-determination, and the culture of who we are as a people with a distinct history here on this continent. It is our strength, it is our music, it is our fashion, it is our food, and it's our collective struggle for liberation.
Yeah, my turn now, right? I'm gonna pass the buck here. So you all said so much that I agree with. My experience with freedom dreaming has been, freedom dreaming is a journey. There's no end to it. And for me, I'm also understanding freedom dreaming with different aspects to it. So I think about Ed Whitfield, and he talks about freedom and freedom dreaming as freedom now. Because even as I'm here in Detroit with systems that are not for my benefit, there are aspects in my life where I have much more freedom than a lot of people around the world, and even those who live around the block from me. And I get to choose, but I have freedom that my forefathers, my ancestors did not have. I have some freedoms now. And then there are some other aspects of freedom that I aspire to. Doing the work that I do with my colleagues here and many people in the room, dreaming, as Chera said, for the next stage where we could feel free and safe and people can feel comfortable. That's a goal, but that's continuous. And as we know, even sometime when we reach some of those goals, they're often changed by the systems that are here. Affirmative action and where people, education, so we have to stay vigilant. Myrtle said a very key word to being free, and that is commitment. And it's not fuzzy all the time. It can be fun. It's definitely, it can be a lot of work. But it's a journey. So many aspects of being free, and how, at least myself, use my imagination. And one way, I'll just mention one more way, the thing that I've been thinking about as it pertains to freedom and how I got here. Being a part of the Boggs Center, and I always remember Gracely Boggs talking about seeing tires and I'm saying dumping and debris, and seeing it with a different vision. What can you create out of that? Do you see empty tires, or do you turn those empty tires into a community garden, a playground? I often think about, for those who are here, what's now called Midtown. We used to call that Skid Row, right? But it's Cass Corridor. But it's the place to be now, because someone had a vision and they changed it. So I recognize now, when I look at anything, that with vision, commitment, collective work and responsibility, that we can create whatever we want.
I'm gonna ask us to talk a little bit about inspiration. Right? Vision, commitment, collective action. What inspires you in this work, especially, I would say, on the harder days or harder seasons? How do you keep coming back to vision, coming back to freedom dreams? For me, I think a lot about my late grandmother, Annie Lee Patton Jones, who lived to 96. She had about 8 strokes. Like, I'm not kidding. And she kept coming back, eating her chocolate, telling her stories, and had an 8th grade education because after like about the 5th grade equivalent, her parents sent her to Chicago so that she had her own little mini great migration from North Carolina to be able to continue her schooling. And I think about the inspiration. I mean, think about the words, her presence in my life for many years before she passed on, and the way that she dreamed for her kids to be able to go to college. For people, as she said, I just didn't want you to have to work in white folks' houses as inspiration. I come back to her words, to the gift of my relationship with my grandmother many times over. But I wonder, when you think about what inspires you, when you need to dig deep, what are some of your inspirations to keep on with this work and keep on with the Freedom Dream?
That one I gotta take.
I'll take that one.
So, first of all, my mother, my hero. So my mother was my hero. We're 9 children. My father passed early on, and just a wonderful example of inspiration and what it means to be a person who's committed to her family and just a good person. And so that was the first inspiration. Then I thought about her mother being a Block Club president, where she got it from. So the easy part is to say to all of you all that, and this is, I'm not taking like, especially those of you all that I know, I'm inspired by each one of you all every day.
Amen.
I look at like the generosity and the knowledge that I'm gaining from all my friends and my family members, and I'm taking from that. So it's really easy for me to be inspired. I'm really inspired by kindness and caring. The thing that we are saying, we're moving towards freedom, because I think that frees us up to be whole and actually to love other people. So it's through those examples that I'm inspired, and it's constant. I will just name a couple of people and even who really also inspired me even deeper. One of the people that all of us have in common here on the panel is Rich Feldman, the playmaker, the connector. Sitting here, right? Sitting here, he set us up. And but how he has the work that he and his family has done around disability and his connecting of people has been so inspirational. And then I think about my track coaches. I'm just thinking about all my teachers. I mean, it's just really through people being more so. Not what they said, it's what they did and how they were. So that, again, that's how I'm really inspired.
All right. Who and what are some of my inspirations? When you said grandmother, I had my grandmother. She lived to be 95, and she too suffered from a stroke and came back from it. She ate a lot of boiled food, she ate a lot of baked food, she ate what she wanted. I don't recall ever her eating fast food unless we were at the Greyhound bus station, we were traveling. That was a long time ago. She did snuff, and she would take her a shot of Jen every now and again. All she had to do on screw the top and then she'd be sitting sideways. It was great. She was great. She stopped taking her long walks in her late 80s. She laughed about it too. She took one of the walks and she came back and she told me later, she said, I got tired. I had to stop. I had to sit on the curb. And she laughed. And I said, Grandma, it's not funny. You don't need to do that again. She said, I won't. I'll learn. But my grandmother on one end and my mother on the other end. My mother passed away when she was 59 years old. She had brittle diabetes. They couldn't control it. My mother was really sick for a long time. And I won't expose all of her things, but my mother introduced me to a book called Back to Eden, because she wanted to get herself together. She wanted it really, really bad. My mother has also exposed me to what it's like to not have good medical care or doctors who won't listen to you. Right. But I'm inspired by nature a lot. I'm inspired by children a lot. I am inspired by books that I've read, wonderful authors, Bell Hooks, Fanon, Asada. I'm inspired by Grace Duvall. She lived a long time and basically did what she wanted to do too. I mean, the quotes from Audre Lorde, there's so many folks to be inspired by, you know, but my partner, Wayne Curtis, it's more than inspiration, it's like push. Pushes you. Like Rich. And they don't always understand why, but they are pushing you to your greatness. And they don't even know, I don't know what, but you're doing something. And so to be inspired in a way that when I'm in the garden, I just don't feel like the flood came and washed everything away. The volunteers showed up. And darn near put it back like it was. I gotta really talk about I can't do this. Yeah. But knowing that I am a human being on a planet that I'm designed to be on is inspiring. Just got some work to do.
Yeah. Interesting. What inspires you? I'm not gonna dwell on my mom's beautiful woman, but I am a chip of her block because I watched my mother help everybody in the community. I have a passion for people. I want to be an impact in their lives. So what inspires me even more now, I would have to give it to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Because if it had not been for him delivering me, I don't know what I'll be doing. And so when I deal with people, no, let me change that. When I deal with the youth, I come to understand that there's a purpose for me dealing with the youth. And so I have people in this room that I go back and I talk to about certain things. When I go to church, I go to Miss Ruthie and I talk about all kinds of stuff. But this is pushing me to do my work. When I want some spiritual guidance, I go to my niece. But when I want to deal with the kids that is part of Freedom Dream, I go to Sam. And I begin to tell Sam things. And for instance, I told Sam when we was talking to two of our kids, I said, hold on, it's my job to protect them. It's my job. And the couple, there was a little couple that broke up or whatever. I said, it's not, you can't bring her around her because I gotta protect her. Because she's part of me. And so this same young lady, even now, every time that she leaves, the last thing I say to her, text me when you get in the door. I have a purpose. And in that purpose, I dream, and that's what pushes me. So I'm dealing with now 3 generations of a family. So I taught their father how to play basketball. I taught the mother. Now I'm working with the sons and daughters. And the funny thing, I get on their potato. Yes, I do. I get on in love. You know, the one I got on the other day. I'll call him, say, I need your help. Come on, get me there, coach. Because I care for the people. And I think that care is something that God has given me from the beginning of time. It's just in me. And people be saying, Coach just picked up and took off again. But they don't understand that it's my job. And so I tell you something else that I have a deep concern about, and it's inspiring me again, is that dealing with, we had 20 youths. All of them couldn't read or write as good as some. So I tell Sam, I'm gonna start a reading program. Because I don't want these kids to leave from under our guidance and can't make it in society. It's important to me. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it over to my mother.
I didn't want you to go.
So let me share this, and Chera encouraged me to say this. And I'm gonna say it. I don't think I should say it, but I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. So my passion for people have led me to a new calling. And that new calling is, I'm gonna run for city council in Detroit. I'm not just gonna run, I'm gonna win. But the other part of that is that, because people tell me, oh, but when you get there, you go lose. No, you can't lose what God gives you. And so I'm gonna come in the midst of the people, you, and we create what Detroit needs. Because it's not the businesses that know what we need. You know what we need. And that's what I want to work with.
Right on, coach. There was also, I had made a little note, I make myself little notes because I want to remember. And you say your grandma went to 8th grade, my grandma went to 6th grade.
My mom went to 6th grade.
And my grandmother did what they call day work. And I remember the teaching was treat people the way you want to be treated. And I was not pushed to a higher education in college or anything like that. I did do a little bit of business school. I did do some community college. But I think it was through being taught the work of service is where I fit perfectly. And I was a good reader. I wasn't a good student. And I don't want that for the young people that I come in contact with or anybody else in between. I mean, that organic, James Boggs is what they call an organic intellectual. And through reading and understanding, I gained the knowledge and the privilege of having that knowledge. And I just don't want that to be the pinnacle, is to reach for the intellectual heights as the pinnacle of success, or you've made it, or only those folks get in. And that can be intimidating. That could be, halting or causing pause for some folks. So I want you to know that about me, that my life of service has served me well and is serving me well. I ain't rich by a long shot, but in relationships, I am wealthy.
Amen.
I am wealthy. And in experience and the places I've had the opportunity to go, you grow in a garden, I'll tell you. It's been a beautiful experience. So freedom dreaming, for me, is also a life of service.
Amen.
All right.
Oh, I love that. A life of service. I'm hearing generations and intergenerational work, right? Our inspiration, we have multiple inspirations, and we all have a story of an elder or an ancestor in there. And this is really multi-generational and intergenerational work that we're about. And I'm gonna bring us to talking a little bit about health. And I'm looking at you, Kim, the practicing health. Because when we were prepping, we talked about freedom dreaming, we talked about health equity, we talked about research. And when we were talking about health and health equity, Kim said something that really struck me, which was about the opportunity we have to practice health and what that means and what that can be. So I wanted to invite you to kick us off, Kim, if you will, and just elaborate a bit on when you speak on practicing health, what that means and what that could be.
Okay, I can do that too. Practicing health. So, practicing health is holistic for me. Mind, body, and spirit. Starting with me first. Getting my inner thoughts together. Making sure that I take care of my body. I can do a little more of that, Kelly. I'm looking at my exercise coach there. She did, but definitely do more of that. Because I believe if you don't take care of your temple and your body first, you really can't help anybody else. It's extremely important to take care of yourself and understand. It's holistic in that everything is connected. So if you're carrying around stress kills.
Can you say that again?
Stress kills. And right now I'm really concerned about all the stress that people are taking and being able, that's why understanding what's going on with you. If you have to get rid of that stress through exercise, through thinking, through whatever you use to get rid of that stress becomes important. Eating the right, or foods that's healthy for you, diet, the things that we actually know. Who's around you? Who are you around? How are you living? Are you finding peace? That's my definition of success, by the way, is happiness and peace of mind. Again, I talked about the nutrition, who you're around, having support, having purpose. For me, that's extremely important. Living with a purpose. And what else can I say about? Just having fun, but living. I will say one more thing. Learning how to interpret life and what's coming at you. Everybody can't do that. And that is really mixed with stress too. So how do you manage all the decisions that you have to make and understand how to navigate those decisions without becoming sick? So decision making is very important in how to go about that, how to read the world becomes very important. So, holistic is really a holistic approach that I believe one should take to be healthy.
Oh, I didn't have any, I had mind, body, and spirit. Pretty much.
Somebody, does anyone out there want to say anything about but, you know, really, we were talking about turning this into a conversation.
Yeah.
The back and forth, but it doesn't do it for me. So how can I start some mess with you, Coach Kellogg? Let me know. Get this going.
We'll talk about health. Yeah. So you said about the mind and how, and so that turned on a key for me because when we talk about the word health, we constantly, and Dr. Haley, does research on cancer and all, but the mind is a terrible thing to waste. You know, and we're losing a lot of our young because of their mind. So really, they're unhealthy. You know, but we constantly want to say, oh, look at them, they this, they're out of control, they're doing this, they're doing that. But really, they're unhealthy. And somewhere down the line, Kim, we have to learn to tap into what they're doing. Instead of us trying to pour what we're doing into them, let's find out what they're doing. And so something that I created at Freedom Dreams is a class called Jive Talk. Right? I know some of y'all young folks know that song, Jive Talking. But in reality, I was thinking about during the time that President Obama was in the office and how he would sit around with his cabinet and they will begin to discuss things, right? Yeah, they jive talking about it. And so jive stands for justice, interpersonal relations, to visualize and to educate. Right? And so me and the kids, we would create topics and because I want to know what's on their mind. You know, and so, you know, me, first thing I'm gonna say, so the first topic we're gonna talk about is gun violence. What's your take on it? And you know, oh, it's crazy, it's this, but then you got those who think they're cool, Kim, that won't respond to that. Right? I say, well, hold on, that's gotta be a problem. Even if you ain't hit your front door or it's coming soon or something, because it affects all of us. Right? And so, but that's a health problem. You know. Yes, guns has always been out there, but it's rapidly not. It used to be a street code, it's not a street code anymore. So my thing is, I gotta learn to find out what's going on with them in order to be able to help them. So will that make me a psychologist?
You wanna directly address what he's saying, or? Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my interpretation.
She really don't.
I'll do my interpretation of, health equity. And I'm trying to think, was there, anything that I missed? So, complete health equity would mean complete health care for all, from conception to end of life care. Affordable or universal care for all. It would look like Black people being treated the same as white people by doctors, and money going into research to be, for more studies to be done to address issues of health that are disproportionately targeting Black and poor people. The factors of racism and oppression are factors in the stress levels that directly affect the health of Black and poor people. The same with environmental racism. The industrial pollution disproportionately affects the life of poor and Black people. Folks in Grosse Pointe are destined to live 10 years longer than folks right across the street in Detroit. If we can have help to fight for more regulations to turn these numbers of chronic illnesses around That would be a start. We need more Black doctors, more understanding of natural practices, and more tolerance. That is my equity, and I will never blame the violence in our communities on the folks who are trapped in these dire conditions and just mimicking large-scale war on a small scale. That's the way I see it. And we do need to have those conversations because we want to be safe. And at some level, we do the work at FFG, Feedom Freedom Growers, about community safety. Because even though we grow food, we have been affected by everything around us. The air quality from the Stellantis plant, the flood waters from the canals where climate crisis is causing these shifts in our weather. The pollution that falls from the cars with the lead and the soil, the closing of schools. Where are the children going? What are they doing? The lack of opportunities for children and poor folks. And charity only being a Band-Aid for a wound that is continuing to gush. We have community hubs, which are resources for our communities, but they're just that in our communities, and we're small. So if more attention might be paid to the work that we're doing, we could do more. But still, the overarching system that is created really needs to be, I'm not even gonna say redone, revised, reworked. I'm not gonna say that. We need to continue to freedom dream our ways out of these scenarios and think big.
Yeah, give it to Kim.
And you have to give it to Kim.
I'm gonna just say one more thing, Kim, because, you know, in conversation, words such as redlining and things of that nature have begun to take place. And so here it is in Detroit, especially in the area in which I work, which is right outside of the Eastern Market. Insurance, car insurance. It's crazy. Ooh, it's crazy. So if I gotta pay $500 car note and a $500 insurance, it doesn't add up.
You don't have insurance.
Right, and so people would get the insurance that they counsel, so they just wanna get their cleats, right? That's help, cause it's psychologically disturbing, right? But I can go in the suburbs and that same 500 will become $100, right? And so we're talking about health equity. In the same area in which I work, many people, if they make a mistake, because, you know, grandmama or mama may have passed on, and so they may not be able to get house insurance because they allowed it to lapse, and they're not going to reinsure you because it's a risk, right? And then growing up as a kid, I remember, and all of this is talking about health because it's dealing with our minds, is that I remember doorbell night, garbage can night, and Halloween, trick or treat. When you go to ring people doorbell,
Right.
or knock on their door.
So y'all had a night for that? We did that whenever we.
Oh, no. But watch this. But then when, and I'm not a racist because Sam, raise your hand. I work with Sam every day.
Oh my
We talk every- That's my way. I just want to clarify. I just want to clarify. like, when the Caucasians decided that they wanted to move outside of Detroit in the 70s and in the 60s and the 70s, they began to say it was Devil's Night. So I wonder, was that the biggest insurance scam in America?
In Detroit.
Detroit, you know. But now, all of a sudden, all of the houses have been condemned, and now, and I'm not, again, now they're beginning to do more gentrification of pushing us out and making East Point and Hopper Woods look like it's roses, but Detroit is where it should be. But it's no longer Devil's Night. I'm gonna get to kill. It's Angel's Night.
Please.
I'll pick it up.
So I don't really, I'm not disagreeing with Coach.
You were bringing people down.
I was ringing people doorbells. We call it, knock knock zoom zoom.
Oh.
Ding dong this, yes. And we didn't pick a certain day to do that, but we were kids having kids fun in our neighborhoods. And believe me, Miss Phillips across the street saw you and called your mom and said, you know they're ringing the doorbell. That was the first line of defense. We had our elders with their eyes on you.
Safety.
And so, you know, that's a lot of it. Health equity. We're talking about healthy young people. These young people don't go outside. I'm scared for my babies to be outside. I said, please let the children go outside.
Right.
Go outside and keep an eye on them. And why are they so afraid? What is going on? Somebody gonna steal them. I said, nobody's gonna take them. Somebody will take them. Letting your children, that's the whole safety work that we're doing in our neighborhood right now. Be seen, not watched. Come outside, get to know your neighbors. There's an incident that happened. This is a serious matter. There was a young lady, I can't remember where she was. She was shot by the police because her elder male neighbor saw her door ajar and did not go knock on the door or call, Ladybug, you in there? He called the police first. And they came and they shot that woman. How do we not know who lives next door across the street? I don't care if you've been there 3 weeks. Yep, we see how many boxes they moved in. We know what's going on. I'm not trying to be in your business. We just want to be safe. We don't want to be stressed out 24 hours a day because we don't know who over there. Oh, they over there playing that music. Oh, mercy, what am I going to do? I'm going to go over there and say, me and Mr. Wayne got to get up in the morning and y'all tone it down just a little bit. And if they don't listen, then we're going to have to strategize and get a couple more neighbors. Write them a real nice letter. Send a bag of apples or something, but we have to find a way to connect to our people. You can move. I stay in the city. I can't afford to go to Grosse Pointe. I can't afford to go to Livonia. I don't want to go to Livonia.
Right.
Livonia don't really want me because I don't follow all the rules. I'm striving for collective liberation. And that doesn't look like being obedient all the time. I got nothing but love for you and my people. And see, I don't went somewhere else. I went somewhere else.
We love you.
And I see what comes. I went off my paper. Here we just want
We not having a part my work.
no.
We're supposed to have a conversation.
Yeah.
We act all the time. Yeah. But see, this is where the fun is, right?
Yeah.
We get to laugh, we get to be relaxed, we get to have peace, we get to be real at the same time.
I know why I'm.
Okay, I'm gonna give it back.
Wait.
But you know what? I wanted to just mention something that Coach Kellogg was talking about, just stuck with me. he was saying that he was pouring into the youth, right? But I also want to say the youth are pouring into you. So we learn from each other. There's no hierarchy, at least with me right now and young people. Now that was a little different. I didn't know. I was not always this way. But I'm learning because I want to be free. I want to be open. I'm a community practitioner, so I practice how I want to be in the world. So I'm learning how to listen to you, how to have them interact. And I mean, for me to interact with them, to be real, because when we were younger, you couldn't be real, right? You get a backhand. And for many of the things that young people might say now, but they're just being real, they're being honest. And we need to hear what they have to say, because that's gonna help them with us. And I'm not an expert about anything, I'm a contributor. We sit here, I don't wanna sit here, a lot of times when we see an audience or somebody, then I feel like an expert, I don't, like an expert situation. I'm not an expert, we don't have all the answers, learn from everybody else. And just wanna contribute what I can, and then also receive from other people what they want to contribute, what they have a passion for in terms of changing our situation.
What's the name of that group of young kids you work with?
You mean the program?
Yes.
So, Noble School called Community Lens, where the young people in Noble School, my alma mater, they look from the lens of their hearts, and we use a camera too, so they can look at their community through a camera, but really survey and understand their community. And so being in my neighborhood for over 60 years, really understanding the changes, seeing the changes from being a small child and didn't understand when people fled Detroit and went to the suburbs, but now have of course, a political understanding of all those things now. And just learning how to again, interact with everyone. Chera, do you want to ask us? Okay, let's keep the conversation going. Here you go.
I'm having a flashback. I was thinking about being in the suburbs versus being in the city. And our friend Rich Feldman had a birthday party. And it was so cool. It was
At his house?
at his house. And so Rich was turning what, 70 or something like that? Now Huntington Woods, really nice suburb. It's real cool. And Rich is a white guy. You would consider himself white. And a lot of his friends at the party were white. A lot of his friends are old radical hippies. Rich is cool. Rich is cool. He a hothead. He's my mentor. But anyway, everybody in the place had a drum. A djembe. And we had a circle going. Man, it was about, what, 30, 40, 50 people there? Everybody drumming.
Did his neighbors come out?
They called the police. It was still daylight. They sent a black police officer. He was embarrassed. He was thoroughly embarrassed. He said, neighbor called. And they're worried about the drums. That's why I stay in the city. Nothing against Huntington Woods, Livonia, Lathrup, none of that. It's just Rich was doing something to bring in his birthday, and we've had a ball, now we have a memory together to share. That Rich was over there being a rabble rouser in the 70s with the African drums.
Yeah.
Playing.
Was he being cultured?
He was expressing himself. And we are allowed to express ourselves. It's our birthday. How do we celebrate? There wasn't rap music. There was no blunt smoking. I don't even think they had beer. But I'm just saying, just thinking about how we be in community with one another. His neighbor probably did look over the window and saw all the drums. What did that mean for him?
Should invite him over.
He probably was invited, but he didn't choose to come. So anyway, I said that, and I was looking at this sentence of what we need to put down and what we need to pick up as far as creating this world with health equity or this freedom dream. And I said, we need to put down our remotes and our devices. I know taking it away from the kids sounds scary, but they'll benefit from it, at least at night, at bedtime. Baby, put it in a drawer, give it to me, and I'll give it back to you tomorrow. They need it. Some of them are carrying a lot of weight with these devices.
They are.
And they don't know how to turn it off. It's addictive to me, so I know what's challenging to these young people, these babies. Putting down our indulgent consumption of sugar, fats, and fast foods. I just heard they opened up a fast food emporium on the west side. They have them all lined up in one spot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah. On 6 Mile.
And we also can put down, assuming that everyone is treated fairly in the doctor's offices and hospitals. My son, my husband's oldest son, I'll call my son, passed away. He was in Inkster. When we went to the hospital, in the emergency room, he was laid out. His family was there. It was a very sudden, tragic event. The wife was angry at everybody, but mostly God. She yelled through that hospital, she cussed and she cried and she fell out. Nobody said a word. They comforted the family. My 23-year-old niece died in Detroit from complications of lupus. She went to St. John Hospital. They wouldn't let the family come in. Treated them poorly like trash. Called all the security guards that was in the area to say, no, you can't come in. The only person we're gonna let come in is the mama. And the mama was passing out. They decided to let the twin sister come in. The twin sister. They didn't let the little baby brother come in. He's 11 years old. He out there with his estranged family. He don't have no meat. It was a terrible experience. 2 different experiences. We need more Black doctors. We need more understanding of medical practices and practices around life and death.
Amen. Again, you went on to the next question.
Yeah.
So I would like to go on. Oh, you don't go?
Just to say it aloud, we're talking about if we're gonna move in our freedom dreaming and move toward health equity, as Mama Myrtle just answered it, what do we need to put down? What do we need to take up?
Well, I didn't want to read that, but I wanted to go through what it looked like.
And what does it look like? Go through it.
And so, health equity, what do it really look like? I remember Martin Luther King was talking about his children and how they would begin to play with the little white kids. And it's amazing, and if you notice, I'm stuck on kids. Kids don't have no boundaries. You can bring a bunch of kids from all over the world and they will play and enjoy one another. That's what health equity should look like. It should look just like that. And so we have to come to a place and realize that if my neighbor, I'm gonna just use my buddy Sam again. Him and Mary gonna get married. So when they have their child,
No pressure.
have their child will begin to play with the neighbor next door. And it won't be a problem. You know, I mean, that's what it looks like to me, seriously. You know, and even in young ones that's in college, especially Wayne State, because we begin to become relations with a different ethnic group. Why? Because you can learn their culture and they can learn your culture, and together you can create a culture. And so to me, that's what health equity truly looks like.
So you and Myrtle both spoke to health equity. I especially resonate with Myrtle in terms of the treatment and how people are being treated and where it should be equal. But when I think about equity, and also when I think about freedom dreaming and the work that we're doing at Birwood House and at the Ball Center, we're very fortunate to be with so many different peoples from all different ethnic groups. And so one's color makes a difference, but one's values and principles for me is really key. And so and I know there's systematic racism and everything, so that's there. But with the work, I think that equity is going to change as the people's inside change. The reason that I spend time with like students from the University of Michigan with the SID program, where we get an opportunity to talk to the students who have lived in suburbs, who were scared to come to Detroit, and then to place them in internships in grassroots and real Detroit nonprofits where they're going to have an experience, is helpful in terms of helping them change their mindset. Because truth be told, a lot of them will move faster and get advanced quicker than some of their Black colleagues. So if they have a exposure, experience, and an understanding, the decisions that they make may be more human. They may have more compassion because they understand now. And I also think this generation in general, well, younger, I don't know what generation it is, X, what, I don't know what, but the various generations, because they're global and they have so much exposure. I don't know which one is which now. It's so many Y, X. Is there some more you can tell me? But anyway, I don't know where we are now in the generation. Oh, Z. Yep, Z too. You all can keep telling me because I don't know. What you say? It's Y. I just heard Z. I don't know. I don't keep up with it. We're at Alpha now. Okay, so all of that. The people, but the young people, that they have been exposed to so many things. I find them to be more open-minded and more fair-minded in general. So for me, that's inspirational. That's a freedom dream that I have, but also that I'm a part of. I'm a part of that because we have influence in that way, and we're able to talk and have dialogues, some real dialogue. They talk about all kinds of things. with those on the suburbs, their families, what they're scared about, and they're just back and forth. So, the equity is gonna come, and I think always has been there as people change their principles, their values, their hearts. If there were not people available in the Underground Railroad, we would never be, that open air homes, all kinds of people.
Yeah.
So that's where my, inspiration, my hope and belief is too, and that's why I would spend time in those areas with all kinds of people.
So in that spirit, picking up that we all have work to do, this is for all of us. So freedom dreaming, rooted in the Black radical imagination in a tradition, does not mean that it's something that is exclusive to. And so that's my segue for saying, let's have some conversation in this space, in this room. We want to hear your voices. We want to hear your questions. We have a whole section about talking about research and experiences with research. So if you're a researcher in the room and you have a specific question about health equity, we invite you to, to share that. But we want to hear, what you have to say, what your questions are. So if you will, say your name. If you want to offer a greeting, say anything about your affiliation, you're welcome to, if you know any of our panelists, and offer your question or your comment. Sam.
No, he'll say it.
Does everybody know that Sam?
I had to say something. So for those who don't know, I have the luxury and the privilege of working with all three of these panelists. They're the reason why I'm here in Detroit. And they've changed my life tremendously. But I want to celebrate the fact that no one's an island, right? So you guys aren't alone. We talked about equity as communal and collective. I want you guys to share about how you guys turned into each other and helped with each other's health equity, either as individuals or through organizations.
Oh, boy.
That's a great question. So how have you turned toward each other individually or collectively to advance your health equity?
I think that we turn to one another through our work in the natural world of being outside. We come together quite often over projects that happen in the garden or at the site at Freedom Dreams or at Birwood. The last event I went to at Birwood House was outside in the lots. We've taken advantage of having so much open space in Detroit and coming together around young people and how we activate in our neighborhoods, outreach and organizing. I think looking at education has brought us together, and of course, our connection to what happens at the James Brooks Lee Ball Center. So as always, it's about I and we creating healthy relationships. And how do we strengthen that and take it further? How do we push out what we have?
I think with me, well, I'll say a lot of it comes from Sam. We turned a 100-year-old carriage house into a wood shop. And so Mother Myrtle, they do the green chair, not green light, green chair, not green light, green chair. And so it was our youth through Sam who built many of those green chairs. Me personally, when I need a shoulder to lean on, I go to Kill. I go to Kill, and she gives me great advice. Whereas I can sit back and say, okay, I'm gonna do that, and so So it goes both ways. We worked, and in fact, two of our kids came over there and helped with the raised beds or something. I just watched. I'm telling you, I just watched.
I'll explain green chairs.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that was, you can do like that.
Okay, I'm going to explain Green Chairs, Not Green Lights, is the community safety program. And it came out of a conversation that was happening, at the Ball Center. There was the bringing folks back onto the porches to keep an eye on what's happening around us as we were looking at the green lights that blink on buildings, if you're familiar with those. The surveillance from, the, Detroit police, and folks pay, the businesses pay to have those blinking lights. As an indicator that they will get priority. Police action, police response, and that they're being monitored 24 hours. And my question is, don't all businesses get priority response? But anyway, they pay something like $5,000 a month, could be less, could be more. But it was a $3 million program that could have went to so many different aspects of real safety, real security in our cities. But our community response is to educate our community about what hyper surveillance is. Hyper surveillance is being over surveilled in your neighborhood, your photo and image being taken and used without your permission to sell you something or sell your images. Or it doesn't, the fact of the matter is, having a camera record an incident does not make you safe. It's a recording of an incident. Most of that imaging goes to data tech who own it, who make money off of your, off of the technology. So it was, turned down in Chicago, happy to say, but we have a community effort to educate our community about hyper surveillance, over policing, and ways that we can keep ourselves safe. Green chairs. So the green chairs is, we build these really wonderful pieces of furniture and encourage you to sit on your porch, and you can participate in a pod mapping workshop, which teaches you how to make a, you create a circle of support around yourself. What happens in the first 15 minutes of a crisis situation? And as you create this pod map, the folks around you might be able to get you through it without calling the over vigilant police. Because 9 times out of 10, that is not who you need in a moment of crisis. If it ain't a gun threatening you or a bomb going off or thank you. It's the police are not the ones that most of the time don't need to be called. And when I told the story about the young lady whose door was ajar, it wasn't the police who should have been called. And all I gotta think about is Tamir Rice. So the Green Chairs, Not Green Lights is a community safety program, and a part of that is the building of the chairs, which utilizes the young people and teaches them new skills. And that happens at Feedom Dreams. The workshops that will be coming out of Green Chairs, Not Green Lights are under revamp revision. So that is what we are doing. We address problems as they come up, and we try to get to it immediately. And we don't have $3 million to bump into it. But we are here for ourselves and for our children, for our neighborhoods, our communities. We're hardcore Detroiters. I'm a lifelong Detroit. I've been here. And I think we are our first line of defense. You know, so I just want to explain a little bit. And then there's the piece that talks about what data and technology and hyper surveillance really looks like.
Does anybody else have any question or experience or comments? So I know you all, I was gonna call my sister out, who's a nurse. Hey, sister, yeah, that's my oldest sister right there.
How you doing? Kim indicated, the oldest one of our family. And we had a family of 9 at one point. And I guess I got a little bit confused when I first came here because I'm a nurse and I've been one for many, many years. And this young lady right here, her and I went to Wayne State nursing school. And I was confused because I thought this was going to be about healthcare. You know what I'm saying? So when it started and you kind of touched on, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Myrtle. Myrtle touched on some of the experiences that she witnessed in terms of, you know, her family that she knew that was treated inappropriately in a hospital healthcare setting. And so I kind of thought about maybe that was what we were gonna go, but we didn't go that way. But that being said, I'm just gonna put something on your mind. One of the things to, in my opinion, can help facilitate more equity in healthcare from a medical, not only physical, but mental, emotional, is knowledge. And when I say knowledge, I'm talking about knowledge about insurance, okay? Because there's a whole lot of inequity in that area, whole lot. And so, you know, and I've seen it up front and I know, and it's just a shame. It really, really is. It almost makes me embarrassed to even be affiliated with the healthcare from that perspective. But at the end of the day, and we can't get around it, it's about money and it's about knowledge. That's the bottom line, okay? And so, you know, I don't, you know, I'm not trying to negate what we did talk about, but I just wanted to add that part, and maybe Kim will come up with another group meeting like this where we can Kim has a lot of meetings. Another meeting where we can really get into that knowledge and, you know, understanding about what goes on when minorities, the poor, and, you know, when they interface with the healthcare system. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. So that's all.
But you can hear me, but we needed to hear that from you. So anyone who has experience, so this is not, it's holistic. So I mentioned mind, body, and spirit. So even I would invite Stevie.
Stephanie.
Well, I call it Stevie to say some things that maybe we don't know. You all provide us knowledge. So you all oversaw nursing homes.
Yeah,
you were an instructor of many nurses. So you all have some information that could help us. So it's holistic.
Okay.
We're talking from our perspective. So anybody in the room who has that knowledge should do it.
Well, yeah, I would definitely be interested in the conversation about healthcare, access, equity, and you know, doing something about the disparities that we probably have all witnessed. What's interesting to me, because I'm retired now, so I'm really getting into the neighborhood. I worked many, many years and was always away from home. And so now I'm there. And it's just a whole new world. And so you talked about the green chair. And I just need to learn more about it because I know that the green lights don't work. Or, you know, calling the police, and they have neighborhood policing associations or whatever. And I didn't find them helpful for a recent incident that I experienced. So I'd like to take back to our community about this green chair concept. And would like to know if maybe you could come out and educate us, introduce us to it or whatever, but I'll talk to our community council.
All right.
And see what we can do.
And that is every time it's mentioned
About the community safety program, that's the response we get. Yeah. Folks want alternative to over policing. Folks want it, so we're here for it.
Okay. And there's also a young person in the audience, I was wondering if she had anything to say. Who just put up in the medical field. Ebony?
Put you on one,
All right, now, what's funny is, I was sitting here the whole time, like, should I say something? Should I not say something? So she called me. So I'm Ebony, hey everybody. So I just wanted to say that it all is connected. So when you think about social determinants of health, right, dealing with, economics, safety, food, transportation, the things that the panelists have said is all connected to our health, our health equity. None of it should be overlooked or missed because I'm thinking about, for example, Myrtle the other day told me about how some of her grandchildren have to have daily breathing treatments since Stellantis, have been, placed in the neighborhoods, right? So like, that's air quality. The whole factory placed in a neighborhood, that's affecting our people's health. I think about the community of Delray, right? Or even, down in Southwest Detroit, the different plants and how it affects, the prevalence of asthma, will they do that in other communities? Canadian Fire, like it's they can, so yeah, it's all connected to our health when I think about health equity. They're willing to put it in the city of Detroit, still in the city of Detroit. But is it, somewhere in, let's say, Canton or I don't know, Westland? I'm just you think about the population to our health, so
It's about money.
it really is all about money. That's a part of it. It really is. Who's disposable? If they don't value you, and they feel like they can do what they want to do, it is what it is, and you'll have, food apartheid in city Detroit. I was in Taos, New Mexico, and it was some college students who were from Colorado Springs. And one of the young ladies called me and pulled me to the side, and she was bawling. She was crying because she was frustrated. She's Mexican, and the other people were part of her cohort, were primarily white, like one Black girl and two other Mexicans. And she said, they laugh at us when we say we can't eat this food. So they pretty much were out camping and just eating a whole lot of natural foods. And it was doing something to their bodies. And what she said was back home, we don't eat like this. So I'm here, it's my body is doing something, I can't process this food. And so it was in that moment when I shared the story of Feeding Freedom Growers, where she said, oh shoot, we're suffering back home. It's food apartheid. I didn't realize that's what it was. And so it clicked to her, and she was like, this isn't right. And it's affecting, she said, my family members are suffering. I have family members that suffer. My father's suffering now, because of the food, and it affects our health. So what would it look like if we, collected, were gathered together, began growing our own food, versus depending on what's given to us. I'm thinking about on, Grand River and Southfield area, with a bunch of fast food just in that corner. I've seen people grocery shop out of liquor stores and gas stations. That should not be the case. It just shouldn't be, and it's affecting our health. So when I have friends that say, go off to our nurses who say, well, he's Cameroonian, so he said, your people. And I know he mean African American. Your people have diabetes and hypertension, that's what he's seeing, and that's what they associate it with, us being African American, but it's deeper issues and deeper problems with that. Yeah. Thank you.
Go on, Jordan. Go on, Jordan.
I didn't want to respond. I just have a friend who started a farmer's market here as well. So, but go ahead, dear.
First of all, I really appreciate your candor. I appreciate your candor. No, what's it, Myrtle? Myrtle. Well,
Like the beach.
All the panelists, and I agree that this is multi-layered. It's not just one thing. It's the education and economics, it's the structural racism. I agree with all of that. But I have a question. How much, when we think of legislative wise or policy, do you believe that this can help the situation? Or it's not really legislative or politics or policy? It's an individual thing and what they feel about themselves and about one another or other people. But how much, if any, does policy and legislation apply? Does that make sense what I'm
It
asking?
makes sense.
Yeah.
Can I speak on that?
Oh,
We'll do one and then we'll do a wrap up.
Okay.
Just for time.
I just want to say this on that. You know, I was talking to a good friend named Kevin Ryan of the Ford Foundation, and he was sharing with me how he can get. Why isn't the chosen political people and the grassroots are not connected? Because we're not picking people from the grassroots. We gotta pick people who are struggling with the people, who are walking with the people. And then you will begin to see a change. So when we talk about Stellantis and over in our area, we got US Ecology and those in Delray. When we have elected servants, I don't like servants that concern and care for the people, then the laws will change. And when the laws has changed, then it will change the structure of what these businesses are doing.
So you see, it's one back there, one person back there. Or maybe.
I have a question in the chat for you as well.
There's a question in the chat. I think this will be the last one just for time. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so as a new member of the Panelists Patient and Family Advocacy Committee, and as a Black male, I think our hospital systems must serve patients with equity. How does the voice of those participating today get to a hospital boardroom or outside of a forum like this?
So how do our voices of everyone on the panel today get to a hospital boardroom, to those power centers, as you were just speaking about the grad cops, to the elites?
I'm open to invitation and I can put my writing together. No, seriously.
That's not my work. And I say that seriously because I think everyone has a thing that they do. So that's not my work. Maybe it's somebody's work out there, even here, but that's not the work that I do.
I have a response as well. To make it to the boardroom or to wherever, are they just wanting to have it there just because it looks good, or are they actually interested in making a change? I don't like wasting my time, but seriously, are they ready? I'm ready, And that's the political piece. And we need all of the layers. We need us on the grassroots doing what we do. We need the folks in the schools and the university doing what they do, the research. Right. We need more folks picking up shovels. But yes, we need the politicians who are genuine. We did a research project some years ago with the USDA. I learned that the USDA is the money arm of the government or food system. It's not a regulatory gonna get you together. I mean, it is up to us. We are the first line of defense. Each one of us has a universe around us called our family and the people we touch. And that's where we branch out. We have teachers, professors, daycare workers. I mean, I love going to daycare centers with our program. Those children are wonderful. And you plant seeds when they're little. And then you get the college students who come in and their worlds get cracked open because it's always the contradiction of the theory meets the practice. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
This has been really a special time to hear from our panelists, so I want to say thank you to each and every one of our panelists for being here. Connections within this group and among folks who are in the room, I hope we're hearing, we do need each other, and this work is the only way. Right, it's the only way, whether, as you said, Mama Myrtle, if your work is in the boardroom, be in the boardroom then. If your work is picking up that shovel, pick up the shovel. Right, you work in a hospital, work in a hospital as a researcher and academic. This work of how we get to health equity and really how we get to our collective liberation is for all of us. And then we want to thank Dr. Haley Thompson.
Yeah.
Because Dr. Thompson had to sow a seed, I mean, for Checkup to exist and had to have a track record being in the work where she is, right? And dreaming into so that we could be here and be in this evening. And so we say thank you to you and to your team as well.
So just again, thank you to the panelists. Thank you, Chera, for an incredible evening. And I just want to say something because, you know, this whole idea of freedom dreaming and the things we're talking about now, first, you know, it came to light for me in my conversations with Chera. We have, I mentioned this Detroit Community Health Equity Alliance that we have. It's like 18 organizations and 5 community residents, including like Ms. Driver and others, who and Mr. Cave. We come together to think about collective action towards health equity. We're doing some interviews now, just talking about what does health equity mean to you, local perspectives. Health equity, because let me tell you something, health equity is a buzzword. I'm at the medical school, I'm the belly of the beast, okay? And there are not a lot of people like me. I'm a full tenured professor at medical school, and I hear the talk, right? Health equity is a buzzword. Structural racism is a buzzword. The NIH, the National Institute of Health, are funding studies on structural racism in health. But what does it mean when you kind of dig down into it? You know, what does this mean for people? You know, how do they interpret that? You know, and I just think about, you know, that we're not a part of that conversation. We're just not a part of that conversation, particularly Black people in Detroit. When it comes to Black health and health equity, you know, I was having a conversation with a white male doctor who's a researcher, has a lot of funding, and I was talking to him about, you know, kind of the chronic disinvestment in the city and how we need to kind of make research investments in Black-led institutions and churches and other organizations. You know, we need to put our dollars into it and partner and talking about sustainability, right? Because programs and grants can come and go, you know, but those churches stay, and our organizations stay. I could tell, I was like talking a different language to him. You know, I could tell he doesn't understand Black culture. He doesn't respect Black culture. He does not see Black culture and what we bring in our assets as part of the solution.
That's right.
He doesn't, and that's not atypical. And even in doing this program, like I said, everybody in our coalition, when we talked about freedom, we got excited. But part of it is just even being able to put the idea of freedom driven for health equity, Black radical imagination on a flyer and distribute it around that whole university. I want people to see it. There's different things we need to start thinking about when we think about this concept. So I just thank you because, you know, one of the things that we talk about all the time in Checkup is that there's genius in our communities, right? There's brilliance. It's not just at the university with people with PhDs and MDs and master's degrees. Right. It's on the ground, right? And so thank you for the genius and the brilliance you brought to that. Thank you.